Today, everybody, is the 4th annual Top 10 Funko Pops of the year, and today we've got a pretty good list. And if you're wondering how I created this list, I actually asked you guys in a Google form, and over 500 of you gave me your favorite figure. And so I took every single one of those figures and turned it into a top 10, and also, since I was at it, I figured I'd also ask you guys a couple other questions, and you guys answered all of them. And so before we get into the top 10 Funko Pops of the year, let's get into the other categories that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. With the first category being the best category of Funko Pops. There was a plethora of different answers, with some of the top ones being TV, animation, as well as Star Wars. But only one of them can be the winner, and over 100 people voted for Marvel, which was definitely a good one this year. Especially with all of the figures that released for Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, like a lot of really great movies and TV shows. Then after that, we got the best website for Funko Pops, and I actually gave you guys a bunch of different ones to choose from: Funko.com, Hot Topic, GameStop, Box Lunch, Target, Walmart, or Amazon. I figured that covered pretty much all of the biggest ones. So in third place we had Hot Topic, then in second place we had Amazon, and then at number 1 we had Funko.com. Which makes sense because they are the company, like they literally have the most products you could ever find. Then I decided to go for best Funko sodas, and I feel like I could make an entire video on this, so maybe next year if you guys would like to see that and they're still pumping out the figures, we could definitely do that alongside the top 10 pops. But for now, let's just take a look at the best, with number 3 being Slimer, and I gotta say, I do really enjoy this one. I actually just opened him up a little while ago, and that chase also looks amazing. And then at number 2, we've got Ben 10, the only way that you can get him as a Funko product, and also the chase looks amazing because it is completely different. And then in the number 1 spot, we have a crazy figure, the 3-liter Iron Giant. And again, I totally understand why people put this one at the number 1 spot, because it was the first time we ever got a 3-liter soda, and also the chase is him holding the car. It's perfect. After that, we then had the best non-pop product, and there was a bunch of different ones that released this year, such as Snaps, Popsies, Sodas, Gold, action figures like the Five Nights at Freddy's ones, as well as Loungefly. And looking at how the votes turned out, it seriously is crazy how much the winner won by, because it's over 50%. And so with 7.4% of the votes, we had Loungefly. At 11.1% of the votes, we had the action figures. And then at 70.6%, we had Funko sodas. Which totally makes sense, because I feel like if you've got a pop collection, you probably have a couple sodas in there too. Then I decided to ask you guys about the best Funko convention, and we have, again, a good top 3 here, but number 1 and 2 were very, very close. And I feel like you guys probably know what the top 2 are, but you might not know what number 3 is, and that is actually Star Wars Celebration. And I totally agree with that, because there was a lot of great figures that released this year, but the problem was they kind of just did them separately and then in a 5-pack, so they kind of like doubled up a little bit, but still they were some amazing resculpts. And then, like I said, you probably know what number 1 and 2 is, and it's both San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con, but I haven't told you which one's number 1 yet, and coming in with 40.9% of the votes, we have SDCC. And then coming in at 42.6%, we've got New York Comic-Con, so that is the winner for this year, and I totally couldn't agree with this more. Because I was actually at the convention, and the amount of figures they had were crazy, as well as the stuff that they had over at Fright Night. That had a lot of really great figures as well. And I guess that is just a party that takes place during New York Comic Con, so I don't know if you can really count it, but hey, there were some exclusive figures there. And then the last question I asked you guys before the best Funko Pop of the year was this one here: best store to buy Funko Pops. And looking at this here, we had another top 3, with the third place being Target, coming in at 13.3%. And I feel like that's literally just because they have a huge amount of figures, and it's also an easy store to access. If you're in the US, you pretty much have a Target around every corner. And they usually have a pretty good selection of figures. But now coming in at number 2, we have, ooh, okay, this is interesting. I thought it was gonna be, never mind, it was GameStop, coming in at 33.6%. I thought number 2 was gonna be Walmart, but then when I looked again, it was actually GameStop. Anyways, number 1 of the year though, this one totally makes sense. It is Hot Topic. I mean, the sections they have are crazy. And they also get in a lot of great exclusives, pretty much a new one every week. And now everybody, the category that you've all been waiting for, the top 10 Funko Pops of 2022. And so now coming in at number 10, we have kind of an interesting one. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think any of them would make it onto this list, but we have the Diamond Edition Gingerbread Batman. And I do understand why this one made the list. It was just Christmas, so I'm sure it's on a lot of people's mind. And it still is a good figure. I'm just like, I don't know. There's so many other ones this year that I thought would have made it, but hey, it's cool to see one on the list. And I also think if you're going to be picking one of the gingerbread ones, you want one of the ones that has more going on. So the Diamond Edition one is definitely that. And I also really enjoy, and I talked about this when I was reviewing all of the gingerbread characters, I like how they made it look like almost like a kid could have done this. Like, especially when you take a look at the Batman logo, it's kind of off to the left a little bit, and it's seems like you could have squeezed it on with a bit of piping icing. Now at number 9, I've got a figure that I've actually been chatting up a little bit this year, and I don't know if I influenced it to be on the list, but I mean, it's still an amazing one, so if I did, it's really not a bad thing. And the one that I'm talking about is another Hot Topic exclusive. It's Lilo and Stitch on hammock. And I mean, this one here is just amazing. The way they did Lilo as well as Stitch kind of like lounging back in the hammock. She's got a ukulele in her hand. You can also see sand on the bottom with little rocks in it. Like, just everything here is perfect. And I honestly think out of all of my Lilo and Stitch figures, and I've actually got them here behind me, it might be my favorite. Like, in terms of like the bigger ones, it definitely is, because there's a couple different versions, like him with ducks as well as him in bathtub. Yeah, this one's definitely number 1 for that. And I don't even know if it's fair to compare it to the normal size ones, because this is just so crazy. Now coming in at number 8, I've got a figure that I was literally just able to pick up the other day. It's one from the brand new Spider-Man No Way Home set, and this one here is the Amazing Spider-Man. And it's funny, when I was counting up the votes, there was 2 different versions of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man that were like neck and neck. This one here got just a few more votes than the unmasked version. Like, it was seriously crazy. And I thought for sure if any of the Spider-Man figures from the new wave were going to be on here, it was going to be the metallic version of the Tobey Maguire one, because it looks amazing, especially with the silver running through the kind of like lines or like webbing on the suit. But no, it was this one. Now coming in at number 7, we've got one that I feel like a lot of people voted for just because he's such a great character in the show, but we have Stranger Things Eddie Munson. And now here's the thing, I'm not saying it's just because he's a great character. The figure also looks amazing, and this one is here that I know was super sought after for a long time. And it's funny because the way I got mine was actually before the show released. There was a couple of them over at the Target that I normally go to, and I was able to just pick one up pretty easy, and then after that, everybody was like, I need an Eddie Munson, so I got kind of lucky. And you know what, I haven't taken a look at this figure in a little while, but I gotta say, this thing really does look amazing with the details on his guitar as well as the Hellfire Club t-shirt, and I know on the backside of him, he also has like skulls on his jacket. It's pretty sick. Oh, and also, I believe with those skulls, they are popified, so a nice detail on Funko's part. Now at number 6, we've got one of my favorites from this year for sure, and it is this one here, guys. Take a look at it. It is Swampfire from New York Comic Con. And now something that I remember you guys pointing out to me after I picked up this figure was actually the New York Comic Con sticker is upside down on mine, and it almost seems like there's 2 in there or something going on. I don't really know, but take a look at that. For some reason, they popped it on the wrong way. And it's funny because I actually picked this one up at New York Comic Con, so it's not like it was at like a random Walmart and someone could have swapped it around. No, this is exactly how it came directly from Funko. And I gotta say, it's still crazy to me that this is the only Ben 10 figure we've got, but I feel like probably sometime next year we're gonna be getting a lot more of them. So if you're a fan of Ben 10, I definitely recommend picking up the soda now and trying to get that chase, as well as this one here, because I find him at a lot of Walmarts, and once they make the entire wave, he's probably gonna be gone forever. Now we are actually halfway through this list at number 5, and this one here is an amazing one. It is actually, well, I don't have it. See, the thing is, when you guys are able to vote on whatever fig you want, I try to get as many as I possibly can before the list actually goes live to you guys, but for this one, I just couldn't find it anywhere. Or if I was gonna order it, it wouldn't have made it in time, so I'm just gonna have to talk about this one by showing off the glam shots. And sorry guys, I know I haven't told you yet, but the one that I'm talking about is the Luffy on Thousand Sunny. I just wasn't able to get it. And now I do have the Luffy with Going Merry in my collection, so taking a look at that one and kind of like comparing it to the glam shots that I've seen from the other figure, they both probably look amazing in person. And now funny enough, coming in at number 4, it is another figure that I wasn't able to pick up yet. It's actually, well, this one here, the Box Lunch exclusive Green Goblin. The problem is with a lot of the Box Lunch exclusives is that I can order it online, but then if it sells out too quickly, then that's pretty much my only way of getting it. And we haven't got it here in Canada yet. Over at Toys R Us is usually where it would go, and it just hasn't shown up there yet. And now fingers crossed it does eventually, because I do really want this one in my collection, and I'm hoping that it'll be showing up sometime soon, because I love the way that metallic suit looks. And also, I have a feeling that this one is going to be super hard to get, and will probably be one of those figures that goes up in value and shoots up super high, because if you haven't seen, the common version of the Green Goblin is him without the suit on, or kind of like without the helmet on at least. So they are pretty different, and you probably want to get both for your collection. Alright, now we're getting back into figures that I do own in the collection, and coming in at number 3, funny enough, we have the Luffy with Going Merry. This one I was able to get in time because it's been released for a couple months now, and it is seriously an amazing one. I am so glad they're finally making the ships from the show. And I do remember when this first released, a lot of people were getting them in with the flags being broken on the top because of the amount of detail Funko put into this. Which I guess in a way can be good and bad, because you want more detail in it, but you don't want them to be coming in broken. And mine, fingers crossed, so far hasn't broke yet, and I think the flags are, yeah, still in pretty great condition. Now everybody coming in at number 2, we've got an amazing one. This is actually another boat that's in the top 10, and we've got from Thor Love and Thunder, it is the Goat Boat. And I mean, mean, this one 100% makes sense because of how crazy Funko went with this. They made the box even bigger than usual, and I love Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder in the front. Their faces are just so funny. And also, I love the detail on the side where it says Asgard Tours. We've got Thor on the top. You can also see the Stormbreaker in the middle, 2 dragons coming out of the front of the boat, and then just in general, like the metallic accents and just everything with this figure seriously looks amazing. Oh, and also, probably to make it a little bit easier for the Funko designers, they added the Rainbow Road on the bottom, and no, not the Mario Kart one. This one here, and it also makes this figure look a lot more detailed, but then also they can add a lot more stuff to the characters, and so they don't have to be so, I guess, like, I don't know, thick, because sometimes when they don't add the bases, they make them like bigger feet and stuff like that, but for this, they did not have to do that. And now, everybody, we've made it to the #1 spot of the year, and this one is one that I have been hyping up a lot, and maybe I influence this a little bit, but when you see which one it is, I think you'll agree too. Oh, and I also want to mention that this is the first time we haven't had a Marvel figure in the #1 spot. And of course, the one that I'm talking about is this figure here, E.T. and Elliot going past the moon. Like, there is just so much going on with this figure, with how the moon glows in the dark, as well as the trees, and then him going past the moon, and then even when you have it in the dark, it looks like a silhouette, just like it does in the movie poster. And well, everybody, there you go. That was the top 10 Funko Pops of 2022, as well as a bunch of other categories. And if you guys want to see it like this again next year, where I give you guys a bunch of other things to vote on, I totally can. And anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you tomorrow!